Hi, I'm Peoria Mayor Cathy Carlat. With a 24/7 news cycle ringing in our ears and a global pandemic shaking our stability, it's easy to lose sight of the level of government that touches our lives every day. I'm talking about local government, the place you can look for a steady normality, service that you can count on each and every day. Peoria operates as a council manager form of government. As nonpartisan elected officials, the City Council and I create the policies that guide the overall direction of our city and its vision for the future. We are responsible for hiring a professionally trained city manager to oversee the day-to-day operations within the budget as approved by the mayor and council. In Peoria, we take pride in our strong fiscal policies and prudent financial management. Assuring a safe, healthy, and desirable environment for Peoria residents takes highly trained professionals with a multitude of expertise. Today, I'm pleased to be joined by Peoria City Manager, Mr. Jeff Tyne, to talk about the management of our great city and the continuous delivery of superior public services provided to Peoria residents. Jeff, thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know, you have been at the City of Peoria for 25 years now, and you have such a wealth of knowledge. You have worked in many different departments, and you are a leader in our region in so many different organizations. Tell me a little bit about how the role of local government helps the families who live in Peoria.
Oh, I'd love to. 25 years, Mayor, that's amazing.
I know it.
Local government plays such an important role for our Peoria residents and residents all over the country. Local government provides an incredible range of services. They develop the infrastructure in your community. They also develop the laws to help with the planning and building of your community. And it really shows itself in so many different ways. But because of all of that, really what you would see is local government makes more of an impact on the daily lives of your residents than any level of government. One of the ways that you see that is the police officers that you see as we drive down the street, or our fire and emergency medical that are servicing us in so many different ways. When we turn on the tap and clean water comes out, or our solid waste is disposed of appropriately when we go to our parks, all of these are things that your local government specifically takes on. And it's something that we're very proud of. But to your point, it is a big, complex operation. There are 18 different departments here at the city, servicing hundreds of different types of activities, over 190 square miles. So it's rather daunting from time to time.
Wow, and you make it look so easy that it's easy for everyone just to take those services for granted. It really is. But so let's just kind of start from the beginning here. It starts with a nonpartisan elected mayor and council whose job is to create policy, and then it comes down to the city manager, who is in charge of creating a budget that the council approves, and then you carry out all of those functions within that budget. So tell me a little bit about budget development and creation.
Sure, I would love to talk about that. You hit the nail on the head. Peoria has a council manager form of government, and that really brings out the best, I think, for us, because it combines the amazing, strong leadership of our elected officials with the professionalism that you see with an appointed city manager that runs the day-to-day operations. And you're exactly right, Mayor, that plays out best in our budget process. Very early on in the budget process, what you'll see is our elected officials that are really able to bring out their vision and express their goals to the community and give us parameters to work with. And from there, that's where your city staff really works hard to work within the financial means that they have to really look at ways that they want to best deliver the services that your council provides on. So it really does work very well for us. We're very proud of our budget process. You can see them online and through a number of different mechanisms, and really look at how we try to bring out transparency and try to showcase the efficiency and effectiveness we have here at the city.
So it's truly a representative form of government. The Citizens are the voice. They speak to their local elected officials, and then these local elected officials speak to the city manager who carries out the plan. It's incredible. It's the way government's supposed to work, isn't it?
I think that's exactly right. Is what you see in local government is that it is much more personal and relational. We have a great relationship with our residents and with our businesses. And as a result of that, we know specifically what is the need for every one of our neighborhoods and every one of our communities. And that also allows us to be more reactive than what you might see in other organizations. And that's something we take a lot of pride in here in Peoria, is that we are able to react to changing conditions on the ground. It's a great example of that was this recent pandemic. And what we saw there was our council members reaching out to their residents and identifying what were the needs that they had in this unique time, and what was it that was occurring with our business community. And from there, partnering with our city staff to really make changes and make the appropriate pivots when it was necessary.
And city staff immediately organized to help businesses, various types of businesses and individuals and 501c3s, nonprofit organizations. I mean, it was tremendous to watch it happen. There was just no delay whatsoever in being able to bring all of our resources to bear immediately for the benefit of our residents and businesses.
Yeah, well said. It really shows the importance of partnership, and I'm so proud that we illustrate that here at the city and with all of the stakeholders and partners we have out there.
Well, so explain to me how the city gets its revenue. How do we function?
It's a great question, because in Arizona, cities actually receive their revenue a little differently than what you might see in other states, or maybe where many folks came from. An example of that is our property tax bill. If we were to look at our property tax bill, it's relatively small portion that actually goes to city government. Much of that goes to school districts, which is a separate governmental entity, as well as to county and to county districts and such things like that. It's interesting, most of where we receive our revenue, the largest single revenue source, is actually sales tax. And so that makes up about a third of our general fund. That is a critical revenue source, because what it really shows is the importance of purchasing locally and supporting local businesses, not only from an economic side, not only because it's the right thing to do, it also helps with your government to be able to support all those important services. We do receive other revenue. We receive money from the state in the form of a share of the income tax, sales tax, and vehicle taxes as well. But another important source is different fees that we have for building permits or recreation services, areas where an individual specifically is able to benefit, and don't put that burden on general taxpayers. I should mention, Mayor, that we do have something else that's unique. This city does have important services like water and wastewater and solid waste. And we really want to make sure that they're self-sufficient and that they're not subsidizing other areas of the community, that they're just supporting the services that the ratepayers pay for. And so as a result of that, we really use them as an enterprise fund. So your water rates only go for water services, and your solid waste only for solid waste services.
So those are not taxes. The taxpayer does not pay for those services. The rates paid on your water bill and your solid waste bill, those go directly into that fund and pay for that service.
Exactly. That is a council policy that has been long-standing that I think really appreciate, and that residents we want to appreciate, which is you're getting what you pay for. And that is something that really carries over. The council has given that direction to staff, as you know, that we should be getting what we pay for in the form of taxes too. And so we really work carefully to work within our means and maintain the low tax rates that we have now.
Yeah, it is really a point of pride in the city of Peoria that we are so fiscally prudent and that we can keep our taxes low. And as a matter of fact, we have not raised our city taxes 15, 17 years.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, and during that time, though, we did decrease our taxes, right?
I still remember I had worked in the budget office at that time, and it was a time of an economic downturn when our residents and businesses needed relief, and this council showcased that.
I do remember that very, very well. That was a really hard time. And another example of how our fiscal policies have worked for us during a time of crisis. As in COVID, that economic downturn was another time when we really needed to put the principles, that our financial principles, to work and see if they were really going to carry us through the hard times, and they did.
I'm glad you bring that up. That was a wonderful time to kind of illustrate why we have important financial management policies and practices in place. And that's something that we worked very closely with the City Council on. One thing that is of interest is that there is a City Council that gave us direction called the Principles of Sound Financial Management. You, of course, remember that. I think you might have even come up with the term. They are really important because those were principles that transcend just one specific council, but gave the staff the direction to live within your means, to maintain a long-range perspective, and to showcase and be transparent with the dollars that we specifically have. And so when there are downturns, we believe that we're better prepared for that. I think one other thing that's really benefited us with Merit is that it really helps us to focus not only on making sure that we are delivering the services for existing Peoria residents, but for future generations as well. Having that long-term perspective, I think, has really played out well for us.
So that was going to be another one of my questions, because we have a very long and linear city. We have a city that, the original part of it started in, the 1950s, and now it's, a long time from then, and we are still only halfway built out. Right. And so we're having to deal with the maintenance and the area of that is already in process, been lived in for quite a long time. And at the same time, we're having to deal with growth and infrastructure that is going to be new and infrastructure that is still to come. So how do we balance those two things?
It's really hard. I can't lie. What helps us right off the top is that you have a city council that offers you direction and says, again, a reminder for us to keep our eye on the ball. And that is to say, as we manage growth, make sure that we do that in a sensible way that does not place a burden on one specific group, and that we manage the growth very effectively, that we make sure that we put investments in our maturing parts of the community as well at the exact same time. Because what is so important, and that the council has brought to my attention, is that we need to make sure that we have equitable services all throughout this incredibly long city that we specifically have. I think that it's played itself out really well. Another is the importance of transparency for a couple of reasons. Not just transparency to our city council about how we're going about doing this, but to our residents, to make sure that they know that how we are applying their dollars, because we are stewards of their money, and making sure that we are being thoughtful stewards of that. We do that through a couple different check-ins. Many times we do invite our residents to our budget meetings, and we encourage their feedback at that. There are other times that we have to do check-ins. Example of that was in 2005 and in 2008 when we did what are called bond elections. You may recall that those are investments in important capital projects in the city where we'd like to get the residents' sense of that. Are we on the right direction? Here's what we would like to invest in. Do you agree with that? In 2005, that showed it in the form of streets and water and wastewater services. In 2008, it was our recreation program. And as a result of that, the citizens of Peoria at that time approved us for projects such as Paloma Park, Rio Vista Park, and Pioneer Park.
Yes.
All of that was done with the council direction to maintain that tax rate while we did those investments.
Wow. And so what you're saying is we went to the residents, we said, we need your approval to build our city in this manner. And that brought about all of those amenities. And I do remember both of those bond elections, and we talked about more access to the freeway, to the 101.
Right.
The Beardsley
Correct.
Connection
The
was
Beardsley
part
Connection.
of that. I think the expansion of Happy Valley Road might have been part of that.
Was.
And of course, the rec center at Rio Vista. I mean, those have been amenities, our trail system, things that our residents have just used and really appreciated. And it's part of the unique character now of the city of Peoria, who we are.
That's exactly right. I wish that we could say we could do that all with the snap of a finger, but the reality was it took time and deliberation and working within our means. And I think that really paid off for us in the long run.
I think you're right. And and you said within our means, and that is just key to all of this. We have not raised taxes for any of these any of these assets that our citizens enjoy, because we did them intentionally with planning over the long term. And I think that when it comes down to how can we be resilient and how do we make sure that our residents understand that they are going to have a continuity of service no matter what goes on in the outside world. It comes down to that kind of planning and transparency.
I agree. I think the planning is one of those where there's a lot of thought and consideration, and why we talk a lot about that in those budget meetings. And then really it's about communicating expectations, that we can't take everything on all at one time, that we need to manage this growth in a sensible format, and we want to work within those means. By maintaining those principles all throughout, we really have been able to deliver, we think, is a very high service. One thing that's probably worth mentioning is doing so at a rate where you look at our tax rates and our fee rates and you put those all together, that burden is much lower than what you're going to see in other Arizona communities, and that's something that we're proud of. But that also goes to the amazing work of our city staff. There is such a pride in our city staff that really endures from years ago. And that's something that we think also helps to deliver on that amazing service.
Yeah, so I would be remiss if I didn't mention the tremendous culture within our city. And that is thanks to you and your leadership. You know, we have people who have stayed here for a long time, and that helps a lot. There's just, you know, a continuity of direction and management. Tell me a little bit about how you retained such talented professional individuals in the city of Peoria.
Oh my gosh. A lot of it is building from within. We're so proud of a lot of individuals that are comfortable, that have been mentored in their organization and in their departments and continue to grow. And then when that time is to shine, that they're able to take that in. And so we have a lot of our department directors and deputy directors that really have been able to come up through the system, and we're so happy to see that. And then the other is to make sure that we really emphasize in some of these critical services that we get the best that we can. We really believe that we are an employer of choice, and so we're proud of the benefit packages we have. We're competitive with other jurisdictions. But really it is, I think you're exactly right, it is a culture of support and positive. And you know where that comes from is because we have maintained that personal relationship. So every day people feel like they're making a meaningful impact with the people that they meet and the businesses that they work with.
Wow, that is exceptional, truly exceptional. It really
fun.
is. It's very different than a lot of employers, and Peoria just does it the right way, and I'm very proud to be here. I'll tell you that.
I will be passing that on.
Well, thank you for everything that you do to make our city so strong and healthy and ready for the future. We appreciate all of your
Really
work.
enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you, Jeff. The role of local government is extremely important and directly impacts residents' quality of life every single day. The families that call Peoria home are our most important priority, and we remain committed to focused leadership and thoughtful planning that serves residents today and those of tomorrow. Thank you for joining us.